A shadow person is pretty much exactly what it sounds like. A shadow in the form of a humanoid figure. Sometimes they're referred to as shadow beings or black masses. People normally usually start by saying shadow people out of the corner of their eye, but they say that they dart away when they try to look at them. Apparently, after dealing with a shadow person for a while, you'll start seeing them much more clearly, seeing their entire body standing right in front of you. Some people believe that these beings are good, and some think they're evil. Some possible explanations for this phenomenon could be sleep paralysis, illusions, or hallucinations caused by a lack of sleep. Real or not, the occurrence is still pretty creepy, and these 5 true stories will give you something to think about. About a week ago, a coworker and I were chatting, and I mentioned how much I enjoy reading and watching things about the paranormal. He said that he had taken an interest in it as well, because he and his wife actually live in a house that's haunted. It's weird because we've known each other for nearly 2 years, and this is the first time anything like this had come up. His wife showed up to pick him up from a shift, and he told me about their house. She began describing some of the things they have seen and heard, and he invited me to come hang out, that maybe we would all see something so that it would be more than just the word of the 2 of them. They've told their families about it, but got completely blown off. Anyways, last night was the only night he and I had the same evening off, so he gave me directions and I showed up at his place at around 8 p.m. We ordered pizza, had some beers, and basically laughed and joked nearly the entire time. At around 10:30, I was like, well, nothing happened, as I expected, so I guess I'll take off. My friend said before I go, I should see his manga collection, so I was like, okay, cool. He took me into his spare bedroom where he keeps all of his collectibles, and while we were in there, I look up and see his wife's face go white as a sheet. She's looking behind us, facing the door. I see my friend turn his head to look behind me, and his jaw just drops. I slowly turn my head, and right there in the doorway, about 5 feet from us, is the solid black outline of a person just standing there. We stared at it for a good minute or so, not saying anything, and it just gradually faded. Then we all looked at each other, just awestruck. They'd never actually seen anything like that before, mostly just sounds, smells, and feelings, and maybe a fleeting shadow like one time. Needless to say, we were all flabbergasted. It didn't feel threatening, but it was very cold in that hallway as we walked out. I could barely sleep when I got home. I just can't believe it. To now know that these things are real. I'm just questioning everything right now. I can't concentrate on my daily routine at the moment. I can't get that image out of my head. It was amazing, not even really scary. I just had to share it. So one night, I was visiting my grandma. She lives in the middle of a podunk, nowhere here in the deep south. A little backstory. This year her husband died in her room, and her ex-husband also died in the hospital. I was visiting to keep her company and whatnot. Anyway, we were laying in bed watching The Dead Files on Travel Channel, and Amy Allen is talking about shadow people. My grandma randomly asks, "What's a shadow person?" I give her my best explanation, not thinking much of it. A little while later, she reveals to me that for a period of about 2 weeks, very recently, she had a shadow person visit her every night. It would lay in the bed with her and talk to her. She said it never felt scary, just kind and comforting. An everything is going to be okay type entity. She did not sense that it was my grandfather or step-grandfather. Still, it freaked me the F out, so I slept in the bed with her that night. In the shadow person spot. I wasn't sure what would be worse, sleeping alone or sleeping where the shadow person sleeps. Has anyone else heard of something like this? I was 4 to 5 years old. I have a great memory. It's kind of creepy to some because I have a photographic memory. Anyways, the house I lived in, my brothers and I swore to be haunted. The basement was the worst. Picture this. You walk down a set of stairs and look to your right. It's a rumpus room. Ahead of you is a doorway to the laundry room, and the left of you is a hallway. At the end of that hallway is 2 rooms on your left and right. My older brother stayed in the room on the left, and his friends would not sleep over because of a shadowy figure in the closet always staring at them, or so my brother claims. The room on the right is where my uncle stayed in. Now this is where it gets messed up. My older brother was babysitting my twin brother and I, and we all played hide and seek. My twin and I went hiding, while my older brother seeked. I ran into my uncle's room on the right, and into his closet. I sat down on the floor, and I felt a hand on my shoulder. At the time, I thought it was my twin brother. I remember asking, "Hiding in here too?" To which there was no reply. 5 minutes passed and I felt cold, so I left the closet thinking my brother was following me. I went upstairs to the living room, and both my brothers were sitting on the couch, asking where I hid. They couldn't believe where I told them because they think the basement in general is creepy. Fast forward a few nights, and my older brother was babysitting again, only my twin brother went grocery shopping with my mother and uncle at around 7 p.m. We were roughhousing and wrestling in his room, and we acted like we wrestled outside the ring and into my uncle's room, which we considered a backstage. Mid-wrestle, the closet door swung open on its own, like a blast of wind. My brother and I stopped wrestling and stared in awe. A tall, dark shadow man walks out of the closet, and my brother books it out of the room, leaving me behind. The shadow figure walks towards me and stops in front of me. I proceed to run out of the room and down the hallway, up the stairs, and by then, my uncle, mother, and twin brother got home as I started crying on the stairs. Rent went higher, we moved, and that was it, or so I was told from my mother. A few years ago, I get around to asking my uncle if his room was creepy in that house. He told me that yes, his closet would open on its own in the middle of the night. He told me that a shadow man would sometimes walk out of his closet and would sometimes stand at the foot of the bed. He also told me that this shadow figure wasn't evil, and that he had a comforting presence, so he didn't complain much. The shadow figure only came around once every few weeks. My uncle then told me the house's grim history and the real reason why we moved. My uncle's closet had a cubbyhole, which led to underneath the house and conjoined my brother and uncle's closet together, which made one long closet. A man was murdered in that house in the 70s, and his body was found in that cubbyhole. My mother found out, freaked out, and moved us, and blamed it on the higher rents. My uncle knew, but never vowed to tell us. About 10 years ago, me and my sister were home alone. Lots of stuff had been happening. Now, I've never really believed in the paranormal, but I've always been open to possibilities. Anyway, it was around 3 a.m., and my sister was downstairs watching the TV, and my room was upstairs, and I had to go to the bathroom. Now, the bathroom faced a flight of stairs, and you could always see the glare from the light of the street illuminating the living room and whatnot downstairs. But this one time, because I always looked down the stairs while going to the bathroom, there was no glare, and there was no glow from the television my sister was watching. All I could see that one time was amorphous blackness walking up the stairs, or hovering, I don't really know. It was the first time in my life I ever felt this terror within me. I froze then and there for a couple of seconds, but when I could move, I ran to my room, turned on the lights, and sat on my bed, trying to figure out what the hell had just happened. I don't know what it was, or what it was called. It looked like a shadow, and it was coming towards me, and it really scared me. That house was really creepy. I was a kid, maybe like 10 years old. I'd just gone to bed and was wide awake. It takes me a long time to get to sleep, with the window to my room open. I looked at the window, and there was a shadow that looked like the outline of a man looking in. My room was on the second story of our house, and we had peak roofs, so I'm 99% sure it wasn't just a person looking in. It was a shadow. I screamed and ran to my parents' room and told them I saw a shadow in the window. They went and looked, and it was gone, but my dad joked about a floating head for weeks. Maybe there is some explanation behind what these people saw, or maybe they're just lying. But you never know, maybe these people are actually telling the truth. Have you ever seen a shadow person?